Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. So this is a video that I almost got through recording last night until I went and looked at my footage and realized that I forgot to hit record for a huge chunk of it, so had to scrap the whole thing. I don't know why I'm like this, I don't know why this is becoming a problem, but it's a problem and I'm trying to be better about it. As I look at the screen to double check if I hit record on this video, and I did, so we're all good. But I don't know why I'm like this, and I guess this is just the universe telling me that I needed to do it over again anyway, so oh well. So today we're going to be playing with the new Lime Crime Venus XL palette. The original Venus palette is one of my Ride or Die palettes, and when I saw this palette online, I thought it was really pretty, but I was kind of on the fence on whether or not to buy it for myself. And then a friend of mine showed me this palette in person, and when I saw it in person, it was game over for me. The payday right after I saw it, that palette was the first thing I purchased. I have done a look with this palette, I played with this palette. I am so excited to finally film with it because I loved this palette so much. If this were a little bit smaller, it would probably be my favorite travel palette. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and do my brows off camera and I will be right back. So I went ahead and primed my face off camera as well, and I used the Pixi Beauty Rose Flash Balm for that. So for foundation, I'm going to be using the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation, and I am in the shade Vienna. And I'm going to take 4 pumps of that. We're going to start with 4. And I'm starting in the center of my face and working outward. I feel like a little could go a long way with this foundation, but my brush sucks so much of it up that it doesn't. So the other day I found out that I have a surprise trip coming up soon with the family, which means that I will be gone the entire last week of March. But since I put a video up every week for the month of March, I'm gonna have to work a little bit harder than I thought I was going to this month, but that's okay. That is all right. And for this video, I'm going to go ahead and hold off on my concealer until my eyes are all done. So I went ahead and primed my eye already, so we're just going to jump straight into the palette. The first shade that I'm going to be using is this shade right here called Flora. And the shades that I'm using today are all my favorite shades in the palette that I would just naturally gravitate to. And with a Sigma E35, I am just going to work that into my crease as a transition shade. If I remember at the end of this video, I will grab the original Venus palette so I can do a comparison. But shades like this are why I love the Venus palette so much. And this palette does not have a ton of kickback at all, and these shades blend so nicely. And when I get to the end of my eye, I'm kind of just dragging that out a little bit. This is one of my favorite kind of corally pinks. If I could, everything in my house would be this color. I love this color. And the next shade that I'm going to be using is this shade right here called Passion. And with the Luxie 231 brush, I am packing that on my outer corner and inner corner. Pink eyeshadow is one of my favorite things, and it's so underrated, and I get so excited about pink eyeshadow. I really, truly do. And people say that pink eyeshadow and red eyeshadow make people look like they had some weird allergy that made their eyes itchy, and I think those people are haters because pink and red eyeshadow are my favorite kinds of eyeshadows. And they're beautiful, and I love everything about them. This is happening across the board with me no matter what palette it is, and I don't know what the problem is, but lately my outer corner does not want to hold on to pigment, so I have to work a little bit harder to get my eye to hold on to that than I typically do, which is kind of annoying, but it's getting a little bit better. And with a clean blending brush, I'm just going over those 2 shades and just kind of blowing them out a little bit. And I am also putting that on the inner part of my eye as well, and very lightly putting it lower in my crease. This is going to kind of be a halo eye, but not really. I'm being very, very light-handed with this. Something I really like about this palette is you can build it up, but it doesn't take a ton of work to build the color up. You're not fighting for the color to show up, but at the same time, you don't have to worry about going in too heavy-handed. I obviously go in heavy-handed, that's just something I do, but you don't have to, and you don't really have to worry about that being a problem. And with that original brush and a little bit more Flora, I am just going over those 2 shades. It's really a tie between Flora and Passion, which ones are my favorite in the palette, but I love Flora so much. And I'm just putting that all over my crease. I could have definitely used a different transition shade, but I love this shade so much that I kind of said screw it and went with it. And to add even more depth, I'm going to take this shade right here called Botticelli. And with the Makeup Shack T63 brush, I am just laying that down on the inner and outer part of my eye. And I'm not too worried about going too dark over here yet because I will more than likely come back in and add a little bit more of this later. And I'm going to put some of that on my inner corner as well. And when I'm done with this, I will blend it out. And with the brush that I use to apply Passion, I am just going over that darkest shade and blending it out. I absolutely love how the original Venus palettes perform, and this one does not disappoint me. Obviously, there are more shades in this palette than there are in the other two. Out of all three of the Venus palettes, this one's my favorite. And I want to drag this out just a little bit, so I'm just going to blend and pull this out. So when I apply shadows to my eye and to my crease like this, inevitably it shifts onto my lid, and I really want the shadows that I'm going to put down to stick to my lid. So I'm going to take the tiniest bit of concealer and dot that right onto the center of my eyelid close to my lash line. And I am definitely not as careful with my fingers as I am with a brush. So with a brush, I am just going to lightly pat over that concealer. And this just basically acts like a primer for my lid. So for my lid, I'm going to take this shade right here called Inspire. And with an Anastasia A3 brush, I am just packing that on where I laid down that concealer. And I kind of want to darken my outer corner up a little bit more. So I'm taking some of that Botticelli and just putting that on the outer part of my eye. And then really gently just blending that out. And for my lower lash line, I am taking this full spectrum eye pencil from Geek called Royal, and I am running this along the outer 2/3 of my eye. And to blend that out, I am taking some of that Botticelli shade and blending it into that pencil. And now with some of that Passion shade, I'm just blending that right into the purple. And taking some of that Flora, I'm going to blend this out even more. And this completely slipped my mind, but I'm going to line my waterline with that pencil from earlier as well. And for my inner corner, I am going to use this iridescent pink pigment from McGrath. So I'm going to go do my other eye off camera real quick and pop on some lashes, and I will be right back. So for concealer, I'm going to take a mixture of the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer in light neutral and light medium. And dotting is unnecessary, but I kind of just dot this around so I can blend the two together on my face. And this is a crease brush from Real Techniques, so I'm going to use it to blend around my eye. And I'm just using this to blend around my under eye so I don't royally mess up that eyeshadow on my lower lash line. For whatever reason, my eyes are super watery today, and I'm seriously hoping that it doesn't make my eyeshadow bleed. As a base for my contour, I'm going to use the Benefit Hoola Quickie Contour Stick, and I'm just putting that right in my cheekbones. And a little bit down my jawline, and the tiniest bit on my forehead. And I'm just blending that out with a MAC 125 brush. And to set my under eyes, I'm going to take this illuminating powder from YSL. This was definitely a splurge purchase. I would never spend this much money on a powder generally, but I've been eyeballing this for months and finally was at the mall and just did it. It's definitely an illuminating powder, but it does work as a setting powder. It gives your skin like a nice glowy finish and not a super highlighted finish. So I like it for my under eyes. And to set that cream contour, I'm going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills bronzer in Rosewood. And I am just going to bronze over where I put that contour stick down. And for highlight, I'm going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills and Amreezy highlighter. I think in my Anastasia spring collection video, I was positive about this highlighter, but not overwhelmingly positive. I've gotten the chance to play with this more, and I definitely like it a lot more than I did the first time I used it. And I'm going to just go ahead and keep up with the pattern here and use an Anastasia blush. And this is the Peachy Love Blush Trio, and I'm going to use this shade right here called Nectarine. Because this look is already so bold, I don't want to go crazy with blush, so I'm just putting the tiniest bit on. And for lips, I'm going to be using one of the brand new Jouer Pearl lip glosses. And I absolutely do not know how to pronounce this word, and I'm not even going to try to attempt to pronounce this word, so I'm just going to leave the name of it down in the description below. Alright everybody, and this is the finished look. So just real quick for comparison's sake, this is the Venus 1 palette next to the Venus XL palette. There are 18 shades in the Venus XL palette, while there are only 8 in the regular Venus palette. However, if you do have both of them, these palettes would absolutely work magically together. What drew me to the original Venus palette back in the day when I got it is I love the pink shades, and I love that they have the pinks with the browns, and they have the dark shade. I love a palette that has a dark shade, and not only did I really like the shades, these perform really nicely. And with the original Venus palette, the shade that drew me to it the most is this shade right here called Rebirth. And for the Venus XL palette, I was kind of reminded of that Rebirth shade when I saw this shade right here called Flora. That is the shade that calls to me the most in this palette. And while this is definitely the bigger sister of the original Venus palette, I personally find that I love this palette even more than the original. It performs like the original palette, but these shades are much more rich, which I really like. And real quick, while I'm talking about new stuff, I have not had the opportunity to swatch all of the new Jouer lip glosses yet. However, this one is really comfortable. I obviously haven't worn it out. It is about 10:30 in the evening. This is definitely a comfortable lip gloss. It is not sticky or goopy. It definitely looks like a gloss. It does not dry down like lipstick does, but it feels really, really comfortable. I'm not a huge fan of metallic lip products, and this is a little too metallic for me to be a day-to-day lip gloss, but if you're into that, this is a really, really comfortable formula. The color's great. I don't have any complaints with the way it feels. It's just a little too on the metallic side for me. Alright guys, as always, if you like this video and you want to like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm not going to jinx myself again and say when I'm hoping to have another video up, because I feel like every time I do, I don't meet that deadline. So the next video will be up hopefully soon. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later.